Hi, I'm Sarah. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am actually part of the team at Curable, and I've suffered from mind body symptoms for 15 years now. So that is what actually brought me to Curable to work here. So I'm happy to tell you all a little bit about my journey. I think looking back now, I've probably had symptoms most of my life, if I were to guess. Um, Ranging from all types of things like chronic hives and TMJ, which I'm still dealing with all the time. And I have a really sexy retainer that I wear every night that my husband thinks is great. Um, I would say the most acute thing that really brought the mind body, the mind body awareness of mind body to life was when my daughter was born. So she is almost 10. The reason I said 15 years is because, again, now looking back, I think this goes much further back, but she is almost 10. So um, when she was born, everything was fine, normal as things go when you have a delivery. Nothing crazy happened. Brought her home, and I would say I don't know, a month, 2 months later, I started having really severe tailbone pain. Coccydynia, if we want the amazingly fun term. A pain in the ass, if you would like to use that term too. So I had really severe tailbone pain. And that's where it started. And I chalked that up to the birth. I was like, I don't know, I've never had a baby before. This has to do with that. Something's wrong, something's structurally problematic. And so I would say also in America, our postnatal care is not super great for the mom. We spend a lot of time checking on baby and not very much time helping or checking on mom. So, especially if you're a first time mom, that's pretty stressful. Just everything about having a baby is stressful, but the absence of supportive care is also challenging. Um, so I chalked it up to that and was just kind of like, I don't know, I'll get through it. Went to the doctor. They're like, you're fine. Get out of our office, basically. Like, go home and rest. I am not a like go home and rest kind of gal by nature. So I found that to be challenging direction. Um, and sleep when the baby sleeps, like that's not a thing either. Um, so was dealing with that. I went back to work at 4 months after she was born. Another joy of American culture. And I had a really high stress job. So I was working on for a big marketing company. I didn't have any control over my schedule. I spent a lot of time traveling on planes, driving to clients, sitting in really long meetings, all these types of things that would really flare the tailbone pain. So it was like the worst possible combination of things. I'm trying to get to work and run these accounts and do my job like I did before I had the baby because that's what women are supposed to do. And was dealing with all this pain. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't sit down. Like I cannot, I would get up and pace in meetings, which felt really unprofessional. And flying every 2 weeks back and forth to the East Coast from the Bay Area was required. Like I didn't have control over that. And those plane rides are 6+ hours long, super stressful, super painful, like couldn't deal. Um, I just was like, well, I'm the primary breadwinner here, like buckle down and deal with it. I don't know. So I started going to all different types of structural doctors. So from the like primary care and OBGYN up to being in the Bay Area, we have lots of fun alternative approaches to things. So everything from like pelvic floor therapy, which I think should be required or at least offered for all new moms, but pelvic floor therapy, pressure and trigger point release, cupping, um, what's the acupuncture, um, all those things, nutritionists even. I ended up at a chiropractor. I went to a couple different chiropractors, ended up at one that was doing, they did a scan in the office and were like, oh, you have a leg length discrepancy. Like that's obviously what's causing this thing. So it's off by 2 centimeters or something, like nothing you would ever notice walking around. They're like, your gait is very weird. Like things are wrong. And I was like, oh my God, thank God, finally an answer to what's causing these problems. At the same time, the tailbone pain had sort of broadened into kind of my entire lower left back. So it was sort of like left tailbone and left back pain, left flank pain. So it was just this sort of painful, like hard to sit, hard to stand, hard to rest, just like relentless, grueling, just always in the background. It wasn't something that I was like, I can't get out of bed, but I didn't want to. It was like, you just kind of had to. Um, so I ended up at this chiropractor and I was there for several years. They put me in this insane twisting traction. So it was like literally this machine, and they would strap you in and hold you in this really awkward position because they were like, this will correct this thing in your back and undo your psoas muscle and all these things that are messed up in you. So that was super painful. Like you'd stand there in this traction and just, stress about what you're doing. I don't know. That's painful. Like, is this going to work? I don't know. It would, I guess, provide a little bit of relief, but that ended up not sticking. Um, and then I started pursuing back surgeries and stuff. I was like, I can't continue to function. Like, I cannot live like this because it just kept getting worse and worse. I finally went to the city to San Francisco and found a spine professional spine doctor, and she was like, "Ah, yes, let's do another scan. You have problems at your I don't even remember your S1 and L5 facets. You have this problem. Here it is on the scan." And she's like, let's do some spinal injections. I'm like, great. I will literally do anything, anything. Great. Let's do it. Went and did the spine injections. I would say minimal relief, maybe a little. And she's like, oh, well, let's try again. Maybe it's a different part of the spine. We'll try this one. So I had 2 rounds of spine injections. And then it was like, I need to have back surgery. Like I do not, we had MRIs, like all the things ever. Um, and I was just kind of on this path of escalating intensity in terms of just Western medicine, like what is going to help. I will do anything to make this stop. I ended up writing up all my history for a back surgeon that was referred to me by a former colleague of mine who I trusted and was like, great, here's my intake. And I was gearing up to go for that consult. Um, and in between making that appointment and going to the appointment, my husband and I went on our first baby-free vacation since our daughter was born. So she was like two or three. So it had been a minute, like it had been a while, and we are like finally got away. My mom was watching the baby, and we went to Mexico. And I was like, oh my God, I just need this little break. Um, it happened that my husband is an avid Howard Stern listener, less so now than he used to be, but many years of Howard Stern have been in our house. Um, and Howard Stern, maybe famously or not, depending on if you're a listener, has had very severe back pain for much of his life. He used to broadcast from the floor, like had all this workarounds to try to deal with his back pain. His doctor was Dr. Sarno, who wrote a book called Healing Back Pain, among other books. And he came on and was like, this cured me. Like, this, I don't know what happened. Like, I read this book. Dr. Sarno told me about all this stuff. Like, this blew my mind and it fixed my back pain. And my husband's like, that's interesting. My wife's, like increasingly um, unable to function because of her back pain. Maybe this could work for her. Of course, he's like, there's this book. I think he had to tell me 50 times, like, there's this book that you might want to read. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a book's not going to help me. I actually, my undergrad degree was in neuroscience and like medicine. So it was the pre-med undergraduate degree. So I was like, there's no way if something like this existed, I would have definitely heard about it. I don't believe this. Like, take your book and shove it, basically. Um, he bought it and like brought it on vacation, was like, please read, please read this book. We're on vacation. You're sitting here. Like, there's nothing else going on. Like, please read this book. Um, so I did. And it is, it was jarring. It's one of those things where you see yourself on, I at least saw myself on every page of this book. And it was like, are you a type A perfectionist who like is super hard on yourself and um, you know, tortures yourself when you get anything wrong and like have a lot of stress in your life? And I was like, I mean, yes, I'm all of these things. Read this book and thinking, whatever, I'm here, it's just information, maybe it'll be helpful. And then I had my first day of less, like a day that I didn't notice my back hurting me from the second I got up in since our daughter was born. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Um, and just like it didn't cure everything. It was just sort of like a glimmer of hope that it's possible to have less pain, and it's somehow tied to this concept of the idea that your brain is in control of your pain and can influence your body. And that was something that was like, that seems, of course, that's true. Like if you blush or if you have butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous, obviously that's true. As someone who studied the brain, I was like, yes, of course that's true. I just never really thought about it in terms of pain, in terms of the the intensity of pain. I had a hard time believing that like the brain could create the intensity of pain that was happening in my body. I was like, there has to be something physically wrong for this to be true. But reading that book was really enlightening and really started me down this path of the mind body connection. Like, what is it? What, as of course, in my like type A-ness, I'm like, I need to understand all parts of this now. Like, this is a new topic for me to tackle. So got really into the weeds with that. And actually, that's when I found Curable. So I Googled, I think, Dr. Sarno help or something, I don't know, and found an article that had been written about Curable from TechCrunch, I think, and was like, oh my, like what's all this? And got into Curable. I guess now I know it was fairly early in the app's existence, but for me it was like perfect timing. Um, and that was super transformative for me because it was putting all of the concepts into practice. So it was like one thing to get it and sort of like have some little level of relief. And another thing to be like, great, how do I really get into this and like get to the root of everything that's happening and fix this, like try to fix this. Um, so I use Curable for, I still use Curable, I still use Curable myself as somebody who works at the company, but I use Curable for several years to really like eliminate the back pain. um, I guess I shouldn't say I eliminated it. I now know what to do when it happens so that I don't freak out. So it's not like, oh my God, something's wrong and I'm terrified and like now I have to go see a 50 million doctors and spend $20,000 of all the things that all the paths that I went down. Um, I would say that I still like I'm sitting here in this chair and I still like my lower back is like a little bit tense because I'm a little bit nervous to talk to people. Um, but I know that's not because if it's not because of something that's wrong with my back. It's because I'm nervous. Um, or when I fly on airplanes, I still get tailbone pain because I'm like, this is stressful. I don't like flying. So I'm like, this is stressful. I know that's kind of a pathway that my brain has put together and is coming up in my body. But I'm like, it's not something wrong. I'm just stressed and I need to deal with it. So I would say that the pain, I would never wish the pain of anything on anyone. It is now, I'm at the point having dealt with this for so long and used the app and really like dug into a lot of really heavy stuff, like a lot of childhood trauma, big T or little t, like a lot of the ways that I respond to stress um, and challenges. Like a lot of that stuff's just ingrained from your childhood. It's not good or bad, it just is. And it's figuring out how to unpack those things and be aware of, just really honestly be aware of them and like realize what's happening in your brain so that you can kind of stop this spiral and freak out and just be like, what's happening here? Let me look at this. I would say perspective shifting. So it was one of these, I'm open to this idea. I'll give it a minute. I want to know more about this. It was like a possibility. It wasn't a like, yes, this is the answer. But also the fact that in real time, as I was learning this information, my pain was subsiding was really powerful. I was like, oh, it wasn't gone, but it was like, this was a day that I didn't get up and immediately think to myself, like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. How am I going to get through this? It was a day that it was like, yes, I was on vacation, but now I'm like, yes, that was lower stress. And I wasn't caring for an infant and I controlled my day and I could drink pina coladas by the pool all day if I wanted. Like that was great. But putting together in real time, like, less stress can actually reduce these symptoms feels like it should have been obvious, but was really surprising to me at the time just because of how severe the physical pain was. So, in terms of tools, I found helpful and still find helpful. Um, I mean, the books were super helpful and educate. I would say the education is super helpful just to understand like what's actually happening here from a um, foundational level. What is pain? How does it work? How does my brain controlling this? Like, what's going on? That was really interesting to me, just as a scientific-ish person. And to understand what's actually going on with pain. The exercises, I would say, I hadn't really been a meditator before. I was always like, I don't want to. I don't want to sit here. And my brain runs away with me. And like, am I doing it right? I don't know. Am I doing it right? Just my loud brain talking in my own head for 10 minutes wasn't enjoyable. But approaching that from a understanding the education and thinking about like, okay, if I'm stressed, I need to take a minute to reset, and all I'd have to do is sit here and like focus on my breathing. There's nothing else to do. Um, Understanding why that was helpful because of the education really helped me get into a meditation practice that I still do today and still struggle with, but like still do. Um, the control room exercise is still something I return to in Curable all the time. Um, the visualization of being like, I am in control of this thing and I'm going to go find this pain dial and turn it down, and I can do this in my own head. For whatever reason, that was really powerful. Um, I forget what the exercise is called, but there's one where it's like visualize your pain as a creature, as a color, as a is it spiky, is it hot? Um, I had created this like my pain is this like fuzzy Tasmanian devil like object creature. And so I have this thing where it's like I close my eyes and it's running around rampant in this room, and it's like, okay, it's like comforting a child. It's like, hey, okay, see what's going on. I'm gonna like give you a hug. I'm gonna put you to bed. I'm gonna tuck you in. I'm gonna close the curtains. I'm gonna close the door and just sort of like just chill that Tasmanian devil out. I mean, thinking back to where I was just sort of, I would call it unconscious, like not aware of what was happening. Um, Such that pain was sort of ruling my life and I didn't have any control over anything. And that I'm sure made it worse. Like this feeling of not understanding and not being in control, I'm sure exacerbated the situation. My life's still stressful. Like I still have a kid, she's older, it helps, but I still have a child. I still have a husband who works and travels. Like I am more in control of my schedule because Curable is a wonderful company to work for. So I have made some actual life changes, um, but I still get pain. Like I still get chronic symptoms. I still wear my retainer every night for TMJ. I still have low back pain. Um, and so it's not necessarily that the stress is gone. It just is that I'm aware of what's happening when pain arises. I did work with a therapist for a while and still see her sometimes for sort of alongside this mind body work. She's a mind body therapist. And she refers to my low back as my stash box. She's like, that's where you stuff all of your emotions and stress and things that you don't want to deal with. And you just put it down there. And when it gets to a tipping point, then your pain flares up. I'm like, right, okay. So now I think of that less as a something that's happening to me and more of a signal to pay attention to something. So even if I'm like, I'm not stressed, I don't know, like I'm not mad about anything. Inevitably, if I sit down and writing, like I hate writing, but I love writing because it works. If I sit down and write about just write like what's going on in your life, what might you be stressed about, what are you mad, usually for me it's what am I angry about that I don't know I'm angry about. I inevitably find something that is causing me stress or anger or making me afraid, that I wasn't even aware of, which is just very interesting. Like you can just walk around in your life and think things are going fine, and you're not even aware of it. So now I think of it as my little alert system of like you need to sit down and reflect on what's happening. And it's not even necessarily that you have to take action on that thing that you discovered. It's just really the awareness of like, oh, that thing's really pissing me off. That helps you decouple the emotion from the physical sensation. So I was an athlete growing up. Like I played competitive soccer through college up to college and went running, lots the Bay Area, lots of hiking, we go camping, like all of those things are outdoor, super active things. And so when I had the back pain and the pelvic pain, that was really hard to deal with. That was like, but I am an athlete. Like I am this person. Who am I if I can't go out and do these things that I enjoy? It's one of the reasons we moved to the Bay Area. Um, so I think that's probably pretty common. Folks become so afraid of the pain that your world just becomes smaller and smaller, and you're like, what am I even doing? What am I even doing? Um, Now I do all the things that I want to do. So back to all of those camping outdoors things. I hate running, so I don't do it very much, but hiking and all of that stuff. So I'm as active as I want to be. So my limitations are in my own head, not because of my body. Um, I would say I was so active that I convinced myself that I'm like, I'm going to get back out on the soccer pitch and I'm going to be competitive like I was. And I joined this adults only soccer league and got out there and promptly tore my Achilles tendon. So you can be too active maybe, but that was my own humbling moment. That has created sort of an interesting situation now where like I know about mind body, but I had a physical injury like that. The tendon was not attached anymore, and I had to have surgery, and like that was very painful, and the recovery was very painful. It took a year and a half. Like it still bothers me. It'll never be back like it was. So that's created kind of a new level of complexity for me that I imagine lots of folks struggle with, which is like, is how much of this pain is physical and structural and how much of this is mind body. And I think like both is probably always the case or usually the case for many things. And even knowing as much as I do being part of the curable team, I struggle with it. So, you know, I'm I'm 2 years out, I think, from that injury and surgery. And it's like, man, my heel's really bothering to me today. And I'm like, is that, am I stressed about it? Is it my body? Is it like, oh, you're wearing crappy shoes and like your foot's just weird now because you had this surgery? So usually what I do is I do some mind body exercises and stuff just to be like, that can't hurt you. Like, let's sit down and down regulate your system and calm it down. Um, and if it's still there, it's still there. And I do massage and do exercises and that's just part of life. But um, it is kind of a new level of trying to parse out where the pain's coming from and what it's trying to tell you, either in your body or in your brain. I'm sure if I had never been down this mind body journey after having an Achilles rupture, like it was a gnarly Achilles rupture, um, I would have just been right back in the office. Like, what's wrong? I'm still having this pain. I need all the physical therapy. And like I did physical therapy. You have to with an injury like that. But I would be solely focused on the structural part and miss the entire other side of this that I'm sure is, contributing to how whatever levels of pain that are happening at any given time. So I think I would have just been stuck in the same cycle as I was with my back, which was like, you know, I'll see everybody, please make this stop. I will do anything, but all of the interventions might have helped a little. I kind of chalk some of that up to placebo effect now with my back, not with my Achilles, like that needed to be fixed. Um, but I think I would have been stuck in a place that I just would never have solved it or never have gotten to a level of functionality that I have now that lets me go do out and live my life how I want to live and not be boxed in by pain, whether it's a little bit structural or a little bit mind body or a lot or one or the other. I'm not limited now um, by the pain from doing all the things I want to do and being active with my daughter and going on crazy camping trips and flying across the country. Like that stuff would have terrified me and kept me small. Um, and now I don't feel that it's limited. And when new pain comes up, I'm not afraid. I'm more curious about it, which seems seems crazy. Like that's a weird thing to say, but um, when a new symptom comes up, my first reaction is like, okay, what's going on in your life? It's not, I got to go to the doctor and like run 50 tests. So it just is, it's a helpful, I think, first line of defense um, in dealing with things when they arise, because new things always pop up. Like I don't feel like I'm ever going to be done. I'm not like, ah, yes, I have learned the mind body things and now I will never have pain. It's like, it just is a different set of tools and a different perspective for dealing with those things when they come up. And honestly, my life generally is much richer because I never learned stress management or like self-reflection tools growing up. That it was just like put your head down and get it done and like stay out of the way and like grind, do the things, just perform, just get out there and do the things. And that is like I can't blame that. It has gotten me far in life and that's just part of who I am. Um, but coupling that with coping mechanisms and understanding kind of what's underneath that and counteracting some of my tendencies. So, you know, I'm much better at like, I need a break. I'm going to go take a break now. Whereas before I would have just been like, no breaks, plow through, get it done. I think that having the pain and learning about mind body helped me understand how stress and the nervous system and pain are all connected, um, and really apply that to many parts of my life such that I'm just a happier, calmer person. I'm a better parent because I know those things now. I'm teaching my daughter these things, like stuff I never learned, but we sit down and talk about, you know, self-talk and self-love and stress and how the brain works and neuroplasticity. She like knows all these things that I think will save her from a lot of physical and mental and emotional pain down the road. So in many ways, I'm grateful for my experience. At the time, I very much was not. Um, I'm still not happy when new things pop up, but at least I know I kind of I have an idea of what's going on and have a tool set to counter those things in a way that I think is healthy. I would say your journey is your own. Don't be so hard on yourself. I was extremely hard on myself and it's like, why am I not? I get it. Why am I at healing? Why am I still in pain? Which actually I know now makes it worse, can make it worse. Um, so if there are other perfectionists out there, I know we want to make things happen and we want the results to be fast and we want the results to be equal to the work we put in, and we're kind of used to this. Um, your brain and your brain will kind of heal on its own time and in its own path. So give yourself some grace and some kindness as you walk this path. Um, you'll get there. I would say if you have not tried the entire variety of tools that are incurable and kind of across the mind body world, try those things. So um, me, like many other people, I didn't want to write. I was like, I don't want to journal. I don't want to sit here and write this stuff down because it's hard and it takes time and you have to carve out time. And it's just like, I don't have time for this. But that's what I found to be the most impactful in terms of actually leading to symptom relief because it was what allowed me to go deeper into kind of what was underneath a lot of the stress or pain that was happening without even my awareness, but really dive into that. And I've learned since working here that the things that you have the most resistance to are usually the things that you need to do to get the biggest breakthroughs. So I would suggest trying stuff, even if you're like, I don't want to do that or I don't buy that. That can often be the key to unlocking um, progress in your journey. Keep going.